One thing that really frustrates me about modern NBA fans is the propensity to look at team success to determine how good a player is. Statements like, well, if this player is so good, then why can't he lead a team to the playoffs? When in reality, there's about a million other factors that go into determining how good a player is and what kind of impact they're having on their team. One player that falls victim to this line of thinking on an all too frequent basis is Karl Anthony Towns. Despite him being one of the best bigs in the entire NBA, you'd be surprised how often he's on the receiving end of criticism due to his lack of team success. Well, in this video, I hope to illustrate just how impactful of a player he is. From his literally historic shooting ability to his underrated playmaking, by the end of this video, you should be able to grasp why I rank Cat so highly among the league's top bigs, and why I think once a half-decent team is put around him, he'll be able to shine and return to MVP conversations while leading his team to the playoffs. We're going to cover a lot in this video, so be sure to stick around until the end so that you don't miss anything. So let's start off with some basic context stats to get an idea of Cat's production this season. In 50 games played, he averaged 24.8 points per game, 10.6 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists per game while shooting 48.6% from the field, 38.7% from 3, and 85.9% from the free throw line. Those are easily all-star numbers, but unfortunately missing some time this year due to a bunch of incredibly unfortunate circumstances resulted in him not being an all-star. He lost multiple family members due to the pandemic, he was injured by a drunk driver in a car accident, and honestly, he just had one of the worst years of anyone. And it's one of the reasons that I get really frustrated with people who give Cat such a hard time. He's dealt with a lot this year, and despite that, he still managed to play in over half the season and put up crazy good numbers while doing so. Now, before we get into the numbers, I think all of this just speaks to Cat's resiliency. For a player who is so often called soft or mentally weak, he overcame so much adversity this year and really doesn't get enough respect for it. Nobody has had to deal with as much as he did this year, and for him to even return to the court speaks to just how mentally tough he is. Now, back to the numbers for Cat this year. Let's take a look at these shooting numbers because they're actually insane. He shot 38.7 from three-point land on 6.3 attempts per game. That kind of volume and efficiency from a big man is honestly unheard of. Last season was even crazier for him, where he attempted 7.9 threes per game and shot 41.2% from three. He is literally the best three-point shooting center ever, and that's not an exaggeration. You can look that up and compare statistics to some of the greatest three-point shooting bigs of all time, and none of them have done what Cat did, being so efficient on such crazy volume. We have never seen a center with the ability to shoot the three ball on such volume while remaining so efficient. Guys like Embiid and Jokic are efficient from three, but the difference is they just don't shoot it on the same volume that Cat does. He had a true shooting percentage of 61.2% for a relative true shot percentage of plus 4.1, meaning he was 4.1% above league average in true shot percentage. This kind of shooting is so abnormal for big men that shoot threes, and he's in elite company being above 60% true shot percentage. So, we all should now understand why Cat is such an incredible scorer and shooter, but offensively, what else makes him so great? Well, believe it or not, Cat is actually an incredibly underrated playmaker. Per 75 possessions, he generated 11.7 points off of his assists, and he actually ranked in the top 5% in the entire NBA in box creation, which is an estimate of open shots carved out for teammates per 100 possessions, and he came in at 9.1. This is one aspect of Cat's game that seemingly goes overlooked when people are discussing him. He's one of the best playmaking bigs in the entire NBA. It's not always easy to see because his assist numbers aren't jumping off the page. The crazy thing is, if you look at his potential assists per 75 possessions, he clocks an absurd 18 potential assists. With a better supporting cast, his assist numbers would likely go up because his teammates would be making their shots more frequently. Now, don't think that this is me saying he's going to average 18 assists per game, because that is not what I'm saying at all. But somewhere closer to the 6 to 7 range seems entirely reasonable and doable for him. Now, let's take a look at some impact metrics for Cat. The first one we're going to look at is LeBron, which is luck-adjusted player estimate using a box prior regularized on-off. If you don't know what any of that means, that's fine. Here's a quick summary. Think of it this way. It's like a number relative to 0 that tells you how good a player is above average, which 0 would be that average. So he clocks in at a plus 3.8. which ranks in the top 15 in the entire league. It's become so common to spit out the take that Cat is a player that puts up good stats on a bad team, but his impact metrics tell the story here. Now let's look at offensive real plus minus, which measures a player's real on-court impact per 100 possessions, again relative to 0, with 0 being average. He comes in at a plus 1.83, which makes him the third best offensive center in the NBA behind Jokic and Embiid. The team's offense is legitimately terrible without Cat on the floor. When he's on the floor, the team clocks an offensive rating of 116.5 points per 100 possessions. When he's off the floor, that rating drops to 104.8. The fact that this team struggles so much, despite the ridiculous impact that he has on his team, shouldn't be seen as a testament to him being overrated or having empty stats on a bad team. It should tell you just how bad of a team he's on, since he's able to play so well and have such a positive impact that the team is still losing despite that. Now, it is worth acknowledging that Cat does have his share of struggles on defense, but that's not to say that he hasn't improved. He's still only 25 years old, and he's got plenty of time to grow into a solid defender. Hopefully this coaching change is going to help that a little bit. Obviously, there are a lot of factors that went into the team struggling this year, from coaching changes to injuries to ownership changes, whatever you want to blame it on. Give Cat a solid supporting cast, and I promise you that his stats are going to remain just as impactful as if he was on a bad team. Over the last 20 games of the season, which is where the Timberwolves all finally seemed to get healthy again, they had a new coach, and the supporting cast really started to kick it into gear. Over this 20-game span, the Timberwolves went 10-10, being a 500 basketball team. Now, for many franchises, being a 500 basketball team isn't exactly parade-worthy, but for the Timberwolves, it shows a lot of improvement from these past few years. Now, I truly think with some development of young talent, some time with a competent coach, and barring any major injuries, this team can definitely return to the playoffs, and Cat can 100% be that player to lead them there. Not to get cheesy, but you think of all the adversity that he's faced this year, and you would imagine that he's grown stronger as a result of all of that. He's already been a player that has been in MVP conversations in the past. There's no reason he can't get back to that point. He's been consistently one of the best offensive players in the NBA throughout his career, and when Minnesota finally puts a good team around him, it's going to be incredibly fun to watch. So what am I getting at here? Well, here are the main points. Cat is undoubtedly one of the best offensive bigs in the entire NBA. He is the best three-point shooting big man we have ever seen on this high of volume, and with a decent team around him, he's an MVP caliber player. So do you think that the Timberwolves are going to make the playoffs next year? Be sure to leave a comment below, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.